Now, taken in isolation, it's fine to think that all of these things are ridiculous, because clearly they are. But there's nothing malicious about hipster culture. It's stupid, but it's not harmful. It's not trendy right now to oppress people. I would argue what was trendy when I was growing up was much more inherently malicious, because I grew up in England in the 1990s, and what was trendy then was lads, fucking lads, mate. I mean, we went to Eton and Oxford, but we're a bunch of fucking lads. Lad culture was everywhere in the 1990s, and a lot of it was frivolous and fine. But by its very nature, lad culture celebrated a male over the female. And so it came with an inherent portion of misogyny. Now, some of this misogyny was ironic, but we all know what ironic misogyny is. It's just misogyny, and then at the end someone goes, like that. It's just bourgeois misogyny, right? That's all it really is. Lad culture did so much weird stuff. Like there were lads' mags everywhere, just powerfully trumpeting the idea that women's only value is as sex objects. We have needed so badly the most recent wave of feminism to undo some of the cultural damage done by the 1990s. And if you want any evidence of the extent to which women were second-class citizens in lad culture, what was the name we gave to women who participated in it? Ladettes. That's right, they didn't even get their own name. That's messed up. That's as messed up as the fact that Nigel Lawson named his daughter Nigella. A fact which we do not talk about often enough. How truly weird it is that Nigel Lawson had a baby girl and thought, I shall name her Nigella. Oh, she's like a little me. Oh, go to jail, you weird man. Now, the caveat I have to put on this piece of material is the 1990s has passed, and we have had 16 years to make a considered value judgment about the stuff that happened in that decade. We just don't have that perspective on things that are going on right now. Maybe in 16 years' time, it will turn out hipsters were responsible for gentrification, or it turn out hipsters are responsible for all sorts of shit, right? We just don't have that kind of perspective right now. There's so much stuff that happened in the 1990s, we now have a completely different opinion on. That's kind of the interesting thing about getting older. Like, you live through stuff, you live long enough to see it in a completely new light. Like, there's so much stuff in the 1990s, like the North American Free Trade Agreement. That turned out to be a geopolitical disaster. Tracksuits, very flammable. And the Spice Girls. We now know that the Spice Girls were a really malicious influence on our culture and did a huge amount of damage to the way that we see each other as... I'm sensing some dissent in the room. The Spice Girls were awful. What do you mean, no? You have different Spice Girls when you were growing... The Spice... Zigga Zigar. Horrific. Are you fucking shitting me? They had one black member and she was called Scary. And then they used to dress her in leopard print robes like Kunta Kinte and make her stand next to Jerry Halliwell in a Union Jack dress like a fucking EDL wet dream. And then they used to make her do raps, even though she had no talent at rapping whatsoever. They just assumed she could do it. That's like someone coming up to me and assuming I can prescribe penicillin. Someone came up to me after one of these gigs and said, as an intersectionalist feminist of African descent, I have very complicated feelings about your Spice Girls joke. And you know what that means? It means I've found my audience. There are not many of you nationally, but the ones that are showing up are high fucking value. And my feeling on it is this, right? If you blame hipsters for gentrification, you are letting the real culprits off the hook. Because gentrification is a really serious social problem. It's changing the nature of our cities and driving people out of homes that they've lived in for 25, 30 years. But it's the result of unscrupulous property developers, estate agents, and bad housing policy. So why not be angry with the people who say, wrote that policy, for example? Don't be angry with hipsters. Be angry with the government that's passed legislation that means we're going to lose 180,000 units of council housing over the next 5 years. Be angry with the government that's done nothing to protect the rights of renters, even as, over the course of the last parliament, the number of MPs who obtains a second income from a private rental property has increased by a third. They are benefiting from things they should be protecting us from. Be angry with those people, not the concept of smashed avocado or some arsehole riding a penny farthing as a substitute for having a personality. my stars. I don't know what this character is. He appears to be Southern Belle who's become overwhelmed by Asian comedian. Very specific character work from NK47. I know that is a lot of statistics and information to just sort of chuck out idly on a Monday evening when you're trying to have a good time, you know, right? But here's the thing. You can trust me with the big stuff. Guys, I've got half a history degree and I get jazz. So I think it's pretty clear.